I'd like to call the Senate Finance and Appropriations Committee to order. Please call the roll.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I apologize for us being late, but we have had quite a situation. We have been receiving bills late last night, and we've also been receiving bills at around noon today. So to be able to review them has required our staff to work virtually all night and all day. So I'm sorry, but my recommendation is next year we need to either have a longer session or have more stringent requirements on the numbers of bills, because this is getting ridiculous. Okay. The first we will have today, we're going to have a public safety subcommittee report. Then I'm going to have April briefly describe bills with no or a minimal impact from the full committee list. Then I'm going to ask April to briefly describe bills with no or a minimal impact from the late referrals from general laws. And then I'm going to ask her to briefly describe bills with no or a minimal impact from the late referrals from education and health. Then we're going to do bills referred to the committee prior to yesterday evening. And so if we could begin, April, with the Public Safety Committee report, and I believe Katie's doing that.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, the Public Safety Subcommittee met yesterday and heard a number of bills. Senate Bill 1071, patroned by Senator Bell. This codifies the current practice that military members transitioning into civilian life are eligible for DVS services. The subcommittee recommended reporting the bill by a vote of 7 yes, 0 no.
Is there a motion on the bill?
Move the report, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1071 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 1156, patroned by Senator Boysko. This adds blocking or obstructing an airway to the Class 6 felony penalty for strangulation, and the subcommittee voted to report the bill by a vote of 6 yes, 0 no.
I move the bill be reported.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1156 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 1274, patroned by Senator Boysko. This relates to free communication for inmates in DOC correctional facilities, and the subcommittee voted to report the bill by a vote of 5 yes, 2 no.
Move the bill be reported.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1274 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 14, noes 2.
The next bill is Senate Bill 1291 by Senator Deeds. This relates to penalties for false emergency communications, and the subcommittee recommended reporting the bill by a vote of 7 yes, 0 no.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1291 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported.
Senate Bill 1310, Senator Deeds, relates to penalties for publishing identifying information of judicial officers. Subcommittee recommends reporting by a vote of 6 yes, 1 no.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1310 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, noes 1.
Ayes 15, noes 1. The bill's reported.
Senate Bill 1484, Senator Deeds, relates to penalties for carrying firearms or explosive materials on institutions of public education. Institutions of higher education. Apologies. The subcommittee recommends reporting this by a vote of 6 yes, 1 no.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1484 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 3.
Ayes 13, noes 3. The bill's reported.
Senate Bill 1532, Senator Deeds, relates to protective orders and extension of hearings. Subcommittee recommends reporting the bill by a vote of 7 yes, 0 no.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded Senate Bill 1532 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, noes 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 1133, patroned by Senator Eben. This establishes a statutory framework for retail cannabis sales in the Commonwealth. The subcommittee recommends adopting a substitute that incorporates provisions from hemp-related bills that we'll talk about later, and reporting the bill by a vote of 5 yes, 2 no.
Second.
I believe we need to adopt the amendment. Substitute. It's been moved and seconded the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Substitutes agreed to. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1133 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 12, noes 4.
Ayes 12, noes 4. The bill's reported.
Senate Bill 994, Senator Marsden. This establishes an office of the Ombudsman for the Department of Corrections. The subcommittee recommends amending the bill to add the clause and reporting the bill by a vote of 7 yes, 0 no.
Second.
The amendment has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The amendment's agreed to. Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. The bill as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, noes 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported.
Senate Bill 1366, Senator McClellan. This establishes the Virginia Cannabis Incubator Project at the Cannabis Control Authority, and the subcommittee recommends reporting the bill by a vote of 5 yes, 2 no.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1366 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 3.
Ayes 13, noes 3. The bill is reported.
Senate Bill 896, Senator McDougall, updates the definition of racketeering activity to include petty larceny. The subcommittee recommends reporting the bill by a vote of 5 yes, 0 no.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 896 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, noes 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported.
Senate Bill 1207, Senator McDougall, relates to penalties for gang-related crimes. The subcommittee recommends amending the bill to remove the mandatory minimum provisions and reporting the bill by a vote of 6 yes, 0 no.
Move the amendment. Second.
It's been moved and seconded the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's agreed to.
Move the report as amended. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1207 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, noes 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported.
The next bill is Senate Bill 903, Senator Hanger. This expands the 0.3% THC concentration limit for hemp products to include total THC, and also directs the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services to establish a new hemp retail license. Those licenses would eventually, and regulation would eventually move to the Cannabis Control Authority. The subcommittee recommends reporting the bill by a vote of 4 yes, 2 no, and 1 abstention.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Evans.
If I could speak, that we adopted the packaging and product safety features in SB 1133. and I would move with PBI.
Madam Chair,
Senator Hanger?
I didn't hear a second on that. I don't know whether
No, you didn't.
there was no second?
No.
Okay.
Okay. There being no second, is there?
No. All right. All right then, Madam Chair. Substitute motion that the bill be reported, and I'd like to speak to that if I get a second.
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. We had this conversation yesterday morning in Public Safety Subcommittee, and I don't want to, I really would request the support of the committee in reporting this bill out, and just a couple primary reasons. We're talking about a bill that will this year provide improvements in public safety significantly, particularly for children, as these products are on the shelf that are unsafe. We've had a child die this past year. The caregiver was charged with murder because the product was made available to the child. This will be directed through VDACs, and I think we all understand the issue, so maybe I shouldn't talk too long. The issue really is an effort to force the House and the governor to address the legalization of recreational marijuana. That isn't going to happen, in my opinion. I think that opinion is shared by a lot of people, and there are other ways of getting that on a front burner. What we will do if we actually put portions of what had been my bill into Senator Evans' bill and put it over in front of the House, then both vehicles die. That's just what will happen. And so I would ask the committee, as you have advanced Senator Evans' bill, to also advance my bill so we have an opportunity for this measure at least to go through if they do what we all know they're going to do and not deal with legalization of recreational marijuana this year. So that's my case and my story, and I'm sticking to you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Is there a motion?
He made a motion.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Substitute motion is to report Senate Bill 903. Please record your vote.
Ayes 11, noes 4, 1 abstention.
Ayes 11, noes 4, 1 abstention. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Next bill is Senate Bill 1393, Senator Lewis. This relates to hemp product requirements focused on inhalables administered by the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. Subcommittee recommends reporting the bill by a vote of 6 yes, 1 abstention.
Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
Madam Chair?
Yes. Senator Evans.
I think there are some conceptual and legislative conflicts in SB 1393 from Senator Lewis and Senator Hanger's bill, which advanced, and my bill. It amends the definition of industrial hemp to include altered intoxicating substances like Delta 8, Delta 10 under the regulator of VDACs rather than moving towards a single regulator like the Cannabis Control Authority. It's a different path toward an important policy of regulating intoxicants for consumer and public safety. I would move that we PBI it. There's not the same kind of child safety language as in Senator Hanger's bill. It creates civil penalties for sale to people under 21 rather than criminal penalties. There's some other conflicts as well.
Madam Chair, I would second that. I think Senator Eben and I agree on this one.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1393 be passed by indefinitely. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, noes 1.
Ayes 15, noes 1. The bill is PBI'd.
Madam Chair, that concludes the Public Safety Subcommittee report.
Thank you. Okay, next I'm going to ask April to briefly describe bills with no or a minimal impact from the full committee list.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And if I might, these passed in full committee of some other committee and we've determined they either have no impact or very minimal impact, so it is unclear why we would have to deal with them.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll say in some cases there were substitutes that were adopted that removed the fiscal impact before they came here. I would also say the usual way that you have us do this is to read, including the vote if we have the vote, and then if a member wants it to come out of the block, to say that at the time I'm doing it. So the first bill in this block would be Senate Bill 1271. This is Senator Boysko's bill, and this has it has no impact at this point. It was the one that required, it's related to whistleblowing protections created relating to animal testing. It requires state and private facilities using animal testing methods to annually report to VDACs. The vote in ACNR was 14 yes, 0 no. The second bill is Senate Bill 1471. This is Senator Boysko's bill as well. This one relates to prohibiting persons converting contributions to a candidate or campaign committee for personal use. The impact is minimal, likely absorbed by the Department of Elections. The vote, when it was referred from privileges and elections, is 15 yes, 0 no. The next bill is Senate Bill 1436. This is a bill from Senator Dunavant. This one would authorize the Commonwealth Attorney, after consultation with or at the request of a complaining witness, to request that any person charged with specified crimes submit for diagnostic testing for sexually transmitted infections after arrest. This came from the Judiciary Committee. We had a vote from 15 yes, 0 no. It was determined that the impact was indeterminate but likely minimal, probably around max $220,000. Madam Chair, the next bill, Senate Bill 1018, is Senator Edwards' bill. This expands the list of entities to be notified when a railroad company operating in Virginia applies to the federal government for consolidation, merger, abandonment, or discontinuance. That came from the Commerce and Labor Committee on a vote of 14 yes, 0 no. The next bill is Senate Bill 847, Senator Favola's bill. This is related to pedestrian control signs and allows that a person riding a bicycle, personal mobility device, or motorized skateboard or scooter may follow the pedestrian control signal, indicating walk as long as it yields to pedestrians. This was reported and re-referred from transportation on a vote of 10 yes, 5 no. Madam Chair, the next bill, Senate Bill 1184, is a bill from Senator Reeves. This adds ethnicity to the criminal penalties for hate crimes, as well as simple assault and battery, and damaging property because of a person's identity. It has a Woodrum impact of $50,000, and I believe it was not heard in public safety the other day because the patron wasn't available. It was a vote of, it was re-referred from Judiciary and a vote of 15 yes, 0 no. The next bill, Senate Bill 1188, Senator Reeves' bill, also has a Woodrum impact of $50,000. This one establishes a Class 4 felony for any person who knowingly sells, gives, distributes, or manufactures a weapon of terrorism containing fentanyl. This was reported and re-referred from the Judiciary Committee on a vote of 14 yes, 1 no. Madam Chair, the next bill, Senate Bill 1396, is a bill from Senator Stewart. This one has a Woodrum impact as well and came here for the same reason. It was not able to be heard in the Public Safety Subcommittee. This one establishes an organized retail theft as a crime punishable by a Class 3 felony. It establishes the Organized Retail Crime Fund to be administered by the Attorney General to support grants to the Commonwealth's attorneys and law enforcement officer. The committee heard a similar bill last year. It was reported and re-referred from the Judiciary Committee, 14 yes, 1 no.
Madam Chair.
Senator Deeds.
I'm wondering about some of these bills, if they weren't heard, should we put the calls on them just to make sure if they've got a fiscal impact? I'm wondering.
Well, these have minimal or no.
Okay, I'm just wondering if the bill we just heard creates a Class 3 felony. And that's not, I wouldn't think that would be minimal, but.
50,000, it's a Woodrum.
Okay.
It's a $50,000 Woodrum.
That's correct. The Sentencing Commission said 50,000 and determined at Woodrum.
Okay.
And again, Madam Chair, those were the blocks for the votes that were previously referred to the committee prior to yesterday evening or this morning.
Is there anyone who wants to take something out of the block? Okay, then
Do you want a
we will
motion to
vote.
report?
Second.
I'll make a, okay.
It's moved and seconded that the block be agreed to. Please record your vote. Be reported, sorry.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0, the block's reported. Okay, next, April, if you could briefly describe the bills with no or minimal impact from the late referrals that we got last night from general laws.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first bill on the block would be Senate Bill 1518. This is Senator Barker's bill related to amending the definition of Texas Hold'em poker tournaments under charitable gaming. This would be to include an organized competition of players who pay a sitting fee and may be seated at no more than 10 tables, consisting of 10 players, each simultaneously playing Texas Hold'em poker events. It was an indeterminate but likely resource available bill. It was reported from General Laws and Technology on a vote of 11 yes, 3 no. Madam Chair, the next bill in that block would be Senate Bill 1308, Senator Deed's bill related to eligible sites for site development under the Virginia Economic Development Partnership Authority. It reduces from 10 acres to 15 acres the minimum number of continuous acres required for a site that is not a brownfield to be eligible for a site development grant from the Business Ready Sites Program Fund. This is from amounts appropriated. The next bill, Senate Bill 1401, excuse me, Senator Lewis's bill. This has to do with community development and housing projects under the Virginia Resources Authority. This adds that community development projects related to the production and preservation of housing, including housing for low to moderate income persons and families, to the project that the Virginia Resources Authority may finance for local governments. VRA's debt is moral obligation debt, which is why it's here, but there is debt capacity to do that, so likely minimal impact. The next bill in this block would be Senate Bill 1503, Senator Rouse's bill related to the Social Work Advisory Board and establishing a report. I believe it came here because of the need to a minimal impact, but it's likely under $120,000 and may be able to be absorbed within the current budget. It establishes a social work advisory board to advise the governor on the efforts to improve the social work profession in the Commonwealth. And Madam Chair, now that I see that, I think that one needs to come out of the block because we need to adopt an amendment. So I apologize for that. But we can come back to it.
Yes, please do that.
Can I also, the Texas Hold'em bill, I need to pull that out for an abstention.
Okay, let's do the amendment first.
Second.
It's been moved and second the amendment be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's agreed to.
Madam Chair, the substitute would just place the provisions of the bill in a different section of the code.
Do we need to adopt the substitute?
You did do that, and so you said it as amended.
Okay.
So that one could then stay in the block. But we pull Senate Bill 1518 out of the block for an abstention, so that would leave Senate Bill 1308, Senate Bill 1401, Senate Bill 1503 as amended.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded the block be agreed to. Please record your vote.
Oh, it is, okay.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. Block's agreed to.
Madam Chair, that would bring us back to Senate Bill 1518, Senator Barker's bill related to the definition of Texas Hold'em poker tournaments under charitable gaming.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1518 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 2, 1 abstention.
Ayes 13, noes 2, 1 abstention. The bill's reported. Okay. Okay. All right, next we'll do the bills in a block with minimal impact that we received today from Education and Health.
Madam Chair, the first bill would be Senate Bill 1109. This is from Senator Hashmi. This would establish the College and Career Readiness for English Language Learners grant program and fund, and it would provide reimbursement grants to local school division for associated costs for preparing those students for post-secondary opportunities, including training, dual enrollment, apprenticeships, AP, etc. It would also provide some professional development training. The creation of the fund from funds appropriated in and of itself does not have an impact. It was reported from Education and Health on a vote of 15 yes, 0 no. The next bill is Senate Bill 1118, also from Senator Hashmi. This requires school boards to adopt policies and practices designed to promote the employment and retention of highly qualified teachers and to effectively serve the educational needs of students, including English language learners. And it establishes an English as a second language reward program and fund from such funds as appropriated, provide any teacher who obtains an endorsement some funding. This, in and of itself, has minimal impact on DOE, and again, the fund is funds is appropriated. It was reported and re-referred from Education and Health on a vote of 15 yes, 0 no. And Madam Chair, those are the only two that had minimal impact from Education and Health.
Second. It's been moved and seconded the block be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The block, the two bills are reported. Okay, so now we will go to the bills that were referred to the committee prior to yesterday evening, and we will use the sign-up sheet for all of you sitting there. I had hoped that some of you would be able to leave because of the blocks, but apparently not. Okay. Senator Reeves.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I have SB 1183, and I think I have a couple of line amendments. I think if staff has those, if they could brief what they are.
Madam Chair, Senator Reeves, the first line amendment is on line 59, and it just tightens up some of the language related to the destruction of records. On line 60, it unstrikes an annual, after charge, it unstrikes an annual fee not to exceed. And on line 60, after stricken $10, it strikes a reasonable fee and inserts $12.
And Madam Chair, to explain why those are needed, Fairfax County came to me and they had a concern that they needed to be able to budget costs towards this. So we thought it was a friendly amendment. It would certainly help Fairfax County to figure out how much in their budget they're going to need. And that fee really does just cover pretty much the cost of the program itself. The RAP Act program is a system that allows government agencies to run background checks on their folks in real time. It was heard by the Courts of Justice, and that's why it's here now, Madam Chair.
Move the amendments.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Marsden.
I have also been in contact with Fairfax County Schools, and this is a pretty big hit to go to $12. And I would have a substitute amendment to take that to 10. We're talking just huge numbers of school employees and tens of thousands of dollars just in that $2 difference. And I hope it's a friendly amendment to take this to $10. But this would be important to my county.
Madam Chair, can I have the state police come and ask them, because they know their numbers?
Madam Chairman, Senator Marston, Keenan Hook with the State Police. So Fairfax County Public Schools right now does background checks every 2 years for their school employees. Those background checks cost them $26 each time they run a background check. The $12 fee would actually save them money over those successive background checks. The FBI charges an $11 one-time fee up front. So if we don't get 11 or more, we're in the hole that first year. The $12 is really just enough to sustain the program and the system that is required to operate the system.
Thank you for the information.
Madam Chair, I don't have a budget amendment to make up that difference for the state police.
Madam Chair?
Is Senator Deeds? No?
No, Madam Chair.
Oh, sorry, Senator Marsden.
Thank you. Was $10 the original fee that was put into the bill that was elevated to 12? I think, is that the case?
Madam Chair, Senator Marsden, it was, and the reason we had it in there was we weren't sure of the numbers that Fairfax County was originally going to come with. As we worked with Fairfax County, they have to be able to budget. Understand that. Where we had to have no higher than for them so they could totally estimate that. And you've heard from the state police, so I don't do the state police budget, but
is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that it be reduced to $10. We'll vote on it.
Not hearing a second. Okay, the motion is that the amount be reduced to $10. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. No. The noes have it. Okay, is there a motion
Madam
on?
Chair, I move that the bill be reported.
It's been moved.
Senator Reeves, that was a substitute amendment.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Move the amendment from Senator Reeves.
Second.
Yeah.
Senator Reeves' amendments have been moved. All in favor of adopting them, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Now.
I move that the bill be reported.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Senate Bill 1183 as amended. Please record your vote.
I-16, no, 0.
I-16, no, 0. The bill is reported.
thank you, Madam Chair. I think that does it for me. Is that correct? Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Next is Senator Boysko.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first one I'd like to start with is SB 1101, the setting up the paid family and medical leave program with the Virginia Employment Commission.
Senate Bill 1101. If you could get a little closer to the mic.
Thank you. Is this better?
That's much better.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. SB 1101 would set up the paid family and medical leave universal program in Virginia. The concept is it is like unemployment, giving benefits back at 80% of the employee's average wage, and capped at 80% of the state's wage. They are capped at 12 weeks. Any application with proof would be required to take the need off. And again, the eligibility for such benefits would follow VEC's requirements. In the fiscal requirements this year would be a line of credit to set up the system, which would be over the next 2 years, $35.3 million this year.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator
Could
Reeves.
I'd ask the senator, what's the source of that funding?
Non-general funds. It would be a line of credit.
Okay.
So.
But it would, Madam Chair?
Yes,
It would
Senator
require
Dees.
general funds in the beginning?
It would be a line of credit or general funds. It could be either or. So we could either do a bond or a loan of some sort or use general funds.
Well, Madam Chair, I would move that we put a clause on the bill just to be sure we have this accounted for in the budget, if we're going to pass the bill.
It's been moved and seconded that the clause be added. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And I'd move we report the bill as amended.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1101 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
I think we're
Ayes 11, noes 5.
Ayes 11, noes 5. The bill's reported. You have another bill.
I do. I've got two more.
Okay.
Much smaller fiscal impacts on these two. The next one I'd like to talk about is SB 1282. This is a bill that would provide clarity and uniformity so that recently incarcerated people could use community services hours to offset the court debt. We have a permissive rule here, and this would make it uniform. And don't even have a FIS. Oh, let's see. I don't have a FIS.
It's indeterminate but minimal.
Yes, ma'am.
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1282 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 12, noes 4.
Ayes 12, noes 4. The bill's reported. Which one next?
The next and final one for me is SB 1159, dealing with costs, fines, and the time period to commit collection activities for formerly incarcerated individuals. And what this would do would make a uniform that the interest begins on the court debt and the collections begin on the court debt at the same time, 180 days after release. Currently, they are not consistent. There is a fiscal impact. They just updated it to $296 and $296,400 to set up some programming requirements to change the FMS program. And the Office of the Supreme Court said that this is information from them.
Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1159 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, noes 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, next on the list, Senator Obenshain.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, you heard this last week. This is Senate Bill 1449 dealing with no-show judicial jobs. There is a problem nobody anticipated. Circuit court judges have to be paid by the Constitution. It requires it. There is a situation in which a circuit court judge announced in December, I am retiring in August. and I'm not coming back to work. We have to pay him. And he's going to accrue retirement benefits during all of that time. There's nobody else we treat that way. This bill, I can't mess with the pay because of the Constitution. But what this bill says is you just can't, unless it's excused for medical reasons, family, or military service, you can't accrue retirement benefits during that time. It's a very small thing. It's a savings. It is not going to cost the Commonwealth anything. As a matter of fact, it's costing the Commonwealth a lot to do this. That's what the bill does. It's simple.
If I could ask staff, are there technical amendments? I think so.
Madam Chair, yes. One is just inserting for one of the exceptions, active duty military leave.
Yes, I thought we did that last week. That's right. And there was an emergency clause which would address the immediate issue. I'll leave it to the committee as to whether they feel it's something that ought to be addressed. I think it should.
So you would like the emergency clause?
Look, I just think it's
your bill.
I think it's wrong. I think emergency clause is important.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the emergency clause be added. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Do we need to move the technical amendment as well?
And if we could also move the technical amendment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor is Senator Marsden.
No, let's go ahead and vote on that, and then I have a question.
Okay. All in favor of the technical amendment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's agreed to. Senator Marsden.
Thank you. Senator Obenshain, like your bill, got to do something, about this. But who would make the determination that the medical reason being given or the reason being given would be accepted? Would that be the Supreme Court?
It would be the Supreme Court.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded. The bill as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 2, 1 abstention.
Ayes 13, noes 2, 1 abstention. The bill's reported.
Thank you.
Thank you. See, next in line, Senator Pillion.
I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back. Senate Bill 1420, you heard it recently, in fact, yesterday, and I'm glad to be back today. Thank you for letting me represent it. This makes a pilot program from 2019 permanent now. It's been very successful. I think APCO's here to talk about the success of it. The Commonwealth Crossing Business Center was the first pilot that was successful with running utility lines to there. That was pressed glass, 212 manufacturing jobs, for $43 million capital investment. In Commonwealth Crossing Business Center, there was also Crown Holdings, 126 manufacturing jobs, $145 million capital investment, which was the largest single investment in Henry County. And then in the same business park that they ran the utility lines in this pilot program was a $20 million capital investment for Crown Holdings expansion. Pilot 3 is the Wildwood Industrial Park in Carroll County. That's in pre-engineering work now, and it started with localities. Application with VDP is there now. VDP has to approve all of these, of course, and they're waiting in the approval. And as mentioned on yesterday afternoon, Berry Hill has, the construction was completed at the end of December. It is now in service. And there's no announcements to date, but there are still heavy prospects for that location. And I think that APCO is here to speak in favor of the bill.
I don't believe we need testimony in favor.
Okay.
Is there?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I was just going to say,
Senator Vogel.
I know we heard this yesterday, and I felt like it was handled hastily, and I appreciate the chair's willingness to bring it back up. But I think this is of high value and high return, and given there is no fiscal impact, as I understand it,
little fiscal impact.
There's no fiscal impact.
Yeah, there's no fiscal impact. I would hope that this committee would appreciate the value and would report this bill.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Norman.
Senator Pillion, is this in pounds?
This is not. This is not in pounds. This is not in pound
They
town.
wish.
But, you know, who knows? Someday.
It's been moved and seconded, the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
That's an easy mistake to make.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported. Next in the list is Senator Stewart.
Madam Chair, he had to leave.
Oh. Senator Morrissey.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I have 3 bills before you. Madam Chair, if we could take up SB 1486, judge pay. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill 1486 is a bill that will increase the pay for our substitute judges who are already members of the judiciary but are retired from $200 a day to $500 a day. The purpose of this is very simple. We have a large cadre of retired judges. Asking them to serve an entire day for $200 has become very unrealistic. These jurists have a lot of experience, and that pay has not been increased in 24 years since 1999. We submitted a budget amendment of $5 million for the salary increase. We found out today that the estimated cost from planning and budget is only $1.1 million. Some of these substitute judges can work. I say substitute judges, I'm talking about retired judges who serve in a substitute capacity, could do as a
Madam Chair,
mitigation or arbitration much more.
Yeah, Senator Peterson.
I hate to cut off Senator Morrissey, but I think I can cut to the chase because this is in our finance subcommittee, and I think we're probably spiraling towards a per diem amount, which will probably be closer to 400. But I guess the question is to you, Madam Chair, is this more efficiently handled as a budget amendment as opposed to having legislation?
Madam
I
Chair,
guess that's a question.
I would move the $500 to $400.
Okay.
Well, it can be either way we can do it.
All right, well, I guess my question would be
But
if they pass a bill and it's inconsistent with the budget, which one's going to control?
The budget.
All right, well.
I move we amend the $500 to $400.
I would second that amendment.
It's been moved and seconded, the $500 be changed to $400.
Thank you.
All in favor of that amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Report the bill as amended.
It's been moved and seconded, the bill as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. The next bill is Senate Bill 887, abolishing solitary confinement in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Senate Bill 887 recognizes that confining people in solitary confinement for extended periods of time is extremely detrimental. In one incident that I shared with members of judiciary, somebody was in solitary confinement for 16 months. In January of 2019, Virginia Department of Corrections claimed that they had ended the use of solitary confinement, which is sometimes known as restorative housing, an interesting juxtaposition of words. It wasn't ended. In July of 2021, they said that they had ended it. They had not. Madam Chair, members of this committee, a similar bill passed in the state Senate in 2021 and 2022, but did not pass in the other body. What does this bill do? It's very simple. It says that no one may spend more than 15 days during one 60-day period in solitary confinement. And of course, there are exceptions, and you need some exceptions, but that's one of the primary components of the bill.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator
I'm
Deeds.
for this bill, but to end any controversy, I move that we put the cause on the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the clause be added to the bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
And I move we report the bill as amended.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 12, noes 3.
Ayes 12, noes 3. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. And lastly, probably the least controversial bill I'm presenting today is Senate Bill 780. That bill is to add a casino in Petersburg, Virginia. You've heard a little bit about it. I call it the Children of Virginia Lobbyists College Contingency Fund. There has been many, many folks that have been lobbying you on it, and I appreciate your patience. You've seen this bill before. It came up last year, passed 9-0 in general laws and 15-0 full committee. What I'd like to do is just explain briefly what this casino will do. As you all know, we decided as a body that we're going to issue 5 licenses, and Bristol, Danville, and 2 cities in the Tidewater area got casino licenses. But those licenses were issued to cities that were challenged. That's Petersburg. It's a challenged city. They've overcome many challenges. But it not only benefits Petersburg, it benefits the contiguous counties, cities of Hopewell and Waverly, and the contiguous counties of Dinwiddie, PG, Surrey, and Sussex. The folks of Petersburg, I call them a very gritty, steely determined group. They've overcome a lot of adversity. You all remember, some of you remember in the mid-1980s, Brown and Williamson abandoned Petersburg. It's a small city, and they took 2,000 cigarette manufacturing jobs with them. The city was devastated. A few years ago, they were close to bankruptcy. They have pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, and it is the city is doing remarkably well. If you visit a couple of examples, the historic district has been completely refigured. It is attracting people there. There's now a pharmaceutical campus where they are now the pharmaceutical ingredients capital on the East Coast. They have done, I think, a remarkable job, and this is the final piece of the puzzle that will revitalize that city. So let me tell you a little bit about this project. It is going to be developed by the Cordish Group. The Cordish Group is unquestionably the preeminent resort and casino developer in the United States. They've done over 100 projects. They've developed casinos in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, Tampa, Hollywood, Indianapolis, Maryland. But you know what they also do? They completely reconfigure the fabric of a community. They took Kansas City and took a 16-block desolate district and reconfigured it, and it's thriving. When they say they are going to do something, they do it. And this is what they're going to do. They're going to build a $1.4 billion casino resort, a destination resort in Petersburg. That dwarfs the 350,000 to 600,000. And when they do that, there will be over 670,000 square feet of gaming and hotels. There will be the first hotel in Petersburg in several decades. I mean that first hotel in several decades. Last year, Madam Chair, we want to thank you for allocating $2.9 million to take down that decrepit hotel on 95. They will build a city within a city. They will add over the phase of the project, 2,000 condominiums. They will have a hotel that has 6 pools. They will have music venues with top-tier entertainment. I showed the General Laws Committee their prospectus. It's what they've already designed. It's not what they think or hope or want to impress you with. It's what they're going to build. A central promenade with retail and housing. And when you look at that, that doesn't even include the casino. Over 2,000 jobs. And it's not just jobs for folks in the city of Petersburg, but the contiguous counties and cities. And who will they help? They will help local hospitals, VCU, Richard Bland. They will have mentorships. They will have internships. They will do...
Senator, would you please wrap it up?
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm sorry if I sound like a cheerleader, Madam Chair, and I will. So what I want you to do is I would like you to support this bill. The chairman and CEO is here if you have any questions, and I will try to answer any of your questions too.
Thank you, but we're not having testimony and we're not asking.
Very well.
Okay. Is there a motion on the bill? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 780 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 7, noes 8.
Ayes 7, noes 8. The bill fails to report.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Senator Surville.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, committee. I have three, I think, right? So could we do first Senate Bill 866? I'm sorry, 886.
886.
Yeah, 886 is, it's pretty straightforward. It's a bill that requires any grocery store that has more than 25 employees to provide sick leave, or any healthcare provider to provide sick leave, except for there's some exclusions for some part-time healthcare workers. I believe there's a small impact with Dolly. That's basically what the bill does. We approved actually a broader bill last year out of this body. That's what it does.
And it has a delayed effective date?
It does.
Yeah. Okay.
January 1 of 2024.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the bill?
I move that we report the bill.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Second. And seconded that Senate Bill 886 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 12, noes 2, 1 abstention.
Ayes 12, noes 2, 1 abstention. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The next bill is Senate Bill 1166 that I'd like to do.
1166.
This one has to do with the Commission on Utility Regulation, which we've had since 2003, but it hasn't really been meeting very often. I think twice maybe in the last 6 years. And basically what this bill requires it to do is, first of all, it adds 3 civilians. It requires the commission to meet at least twice a year. It requires partisan balance on the commission. It requires it to hear bills that are referred to it, requires certain reports be given to it. But most importantly, and the reason it has a fiscal impact, is it would authorize the commission to hire staff. And I've introduced a companion budget amendment for about $1 million of staff, which I've based on the staffing requirements of the Joint Healthcare Commission and the Crime Commission. And I think a lot of people view this as one of the most important pieces of utility legislation we have this session because of the transparency it'll bring to the utility legislative process and our ability to vet utility and energy related legislation and monitor a lot of the multi-billion-dollar transformations that are going on right now. And it also sets up a fund, if this committee or the legislature were to choose to fund it, to fund energy innovation projects or research at our universities in the state that the COR would then direct. That's basically what it does.
Okay, I believe that there is a committee substitute, and if April, you could describe it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee substitute would establish the agency and authorize them to hire staff. It would also have the increasing membership from 10 to 13 members. And it does not distribute funds from a research fund or set up the consortium. However, some of the duties around those types of things go under the agency as to that type of research and evaluation.
Madam Chair, I'll move the amendment and the substitute.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the committee amendment substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
And I'll move we report the bill as substitute form.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question before the train rolls here?
Sure.
And my question is, so we're basically creating a new agency to study energy restructuring issues. And we have a state corporation commission that is chartered to do this exact thing, to basically oversee this industry. And yet we're setting something up within the legislature. How is it different than what the State Corporation Commission is chartered to do?
Well, Madam Chairman, members of the committee, I would say the State Corporation Commission is charged with regulating our utilities. We're in charge of telling the SCC, we're giving the SCC the laws to enforce. And right now, I think, we've passed a lot of legislation in the last 3 years that are going to cause a lot of restructuring, and part of what this is intended to do is to help us monitor the progress of the laws that we've passed. And what this also requires is regular reports to this commission from the SCC on how they feel the implementation of the laws is going and how our transition to this new economy is going, and what our future needs are going to be, lots of other things like that. And I think this overall would improve our ability to gather information and make these decisions. Virginians spend something like $25 billion a year, our businesses and our civilians, $25 billion a year on energy, which is about 60-70% of our general fund, I think. And we don't give it nearly the level of scrutiny we give the budget. And this would allow us to provide much more scrutiny to that part of our economy, just like we do with healthcare. And
well, if I might,
Senator Peterson.
And this is more of an editorial comment. Yeah, there's a reason we don't provide a strict level of scrutiny, because we're part-time lawmakers. And yet we direct the SCC on what to do, and they are full-time experts. And so I'm going to vote against this. Not that I don't think it's got parts of a good idea, but I feel like we're reduplicating or duplicating the SCC and taking away what is their function. And when they are impartial and we're not, that is my objection.
Any other questions or comments?
He just wants the staff up and fund
Yeah,
existing.
motion. There was a motion, okay. Okay, good. It's been moved and seconded that the substitute for 1166 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. Bill's reported.
thank you, Madam Chairman. I have one last bill, which is Senate Bill 1066.
Okay,
This
1066.
1066 was heard in subcommittee, and this has to do with the historic tax credit. And this bill does basically two things. The historic tax credit right now doesn't have a cap on it, but we did, I think about a couple years ago, passed legislation saying that a taxpayer could only use $5 million of it per year, but it's not capped. And so this raises it from 5 to 10, and then it also says that in an enterprise zone, if there's a project in an enterprise zone, it could go to 20 million. Those are the two things the bill does. I could get into the value of this credit, but it's been an incredibly powerful credit, which returns dividends to taxpayers of like about $5 for every dollar invested. It's done wonderful things, restoring some of our most treasured properties in our state, places like the Homestead. And right now, this cap we've put on it limits the ability of people who want to do these projects to find investors willing to invest in the project because of the extended time it takes to recoup the credit because of the bill we passed a couple of years ago.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I certainly agree with the purpose of this bill. You know, the Homestead, that's the largest historic tax credit project that's been undertaken in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But the truth is we have a tax policy committee that's working right now And I would suggest that we PBI this bill and write a letter to the Tax Policy Subcommittee to study the contents of this, or the subject matter of this bill.
Is there a second?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I vehemently disagree. We have an organization known as the First Cities of Virginia that looks at some of our older cities in the Commonwealth, and these older cities are the ones that cannot develop primarily because of what we did as a General Assembly that doesn't allow them to annex. And if we lift annexation, I'll be all for this. And because of that inability to do that, they have to find ways to redevelop, and these historical tax credits is what allows them to do some redevelopment in the older parts of these communities. And this is what allows them to do some development in these older parts of these communities. And I just simply think that we just can't continue to study issues that allows communities like Norfolk, Hampton, Portsmouth, that are a part of these older cities to use these tax credits to their advantage.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Hanger.
Yes, that is a substitute
I would offer a
motion.
substitute motion that we.
I'm sorry,
Did she
excuse
do-
me. She said she was doing she did
you
it one, but I didn't hear it. So what is your substitute motion, Senator Locke?
Substitute motion is to pass Senate Bill 1066.
To report it? Okay, and I would second that. I'd like to speak to that, Madam Chair.
Okay, Senator Hanger.
Thank you. I asked that this go by the other day to consult with your team here about what this would be the impact on the budget. We put the cap on, I think it was 2016, because we were in a little bit of fiscal stress at that point. But I think we could pass the bill with if we put a clause on it to say that, it will be subject to the budget, and we can figure out how much we can afford, if we can afford this in the budget. So I would move the clause.
That's a substitute motion to the substitute motion?
I'm gonna move, yes. Well, I want it to be amended before we report it, exactly, if we could do that.
Okay. So the motion is to add the clause to the substitute. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Yes. Okay. Now the bill's before us.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1066 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think those are all with my name on them.
Good. Okay, next up is Senator Stanley.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Good morning.
Senate Bill 1114. You all, of course, we presented the bill on the 31st of January, just not too long ago, and it was PBI 10-5. I got notice that you brought it back. I think you think it's so nice you want to kill it twice, so if we want to do that. This bill is basically, it directs the Department of Housing and Community to develop and operate Virginia residential sites and structures locator database. In a nutshell, what it helps, it's a tool by which we basically can help localities attract new residential development to areas where the housing supply really isn't enough to accommodate a growing workforce, or where we have housing crisis and shortages that can be filled. We do this with VEDP. We do it with the industrial sites, where we market the industrial sites. Here we'd be marketing the green spaces that would be in these towns and cities and counties to developers. And the safeguards on it is that what would go onto the site would be one that would either be owned by the county, city, or town and marketed as a residential site or light industrial, light commercial. Or if the resident gave permission to the locality, then that green open space for sale for residential development could be placed onto this portal.
Madam Chair, I move we put the clause on this bill.
Is there a second to putting the clause on? It's been moved and seconded that the clause be put on Senate Bill 1114. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
And with the clause, I move to report the bill.
It's been moved. Is there a second? And seconded that Senate Bill 1114 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported.
I love coming back a second time. It always works out better. So thank you. Appreciate it, Madam Chair. You all have a great evening.
Senator Donovan. Oh, okay. Senator DeStefano.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, this is Senate Bill 1115. There's a combination of my bill and Senator McPike's bill dealing with a recommendation from the Manufacturing Committee to provide a preference for bidders who reside in Virginia over bidders who reside in any other states. This is bringing us in line with DC, Maryland, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, and many of our adjoining states. What this does is gives a 2% price for any residing in the U.S. and I believe it's 7% for those residing in Virginia, preference over those outside of the United States or outside of Virginia. And this came out yesterday. I believe it was unanimous, if I'm not mistaken.
Madam President, Madam Chair, I apologize. I remember when I first got to the Senate, I used to carry these preference bills to try to create preferences for Virginia businesses, and people like Walter Stosh, sitting out here in the audience, would tell me, well, what happens when Northern Virginia with Maryland businesses? What if Maryland passes a preference bill, or North Carolina passes a preference bill, or Tennessee passes a preference bill? Then we're going to disadvantage Virginia businesses. And what I think probably makes the most sense is for us to PBI this bill, and I'll make a motion to do that, and send a letter to the public procurement group to figure out if we can pass a preference bill that's not going to create repercussions for us in our border communities.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Senator Newman.
Madam Chair, I don't know that I know the answer to Senator Deed's question. Let me just tell you this, though. We do need to study it. In my business, we go to Texas. We compete against people who have a 6% local preference. We compete in Oregon against a 5% local preference. And it drives me crazy. I come here and our legislative services says it's unconstitutional. It either is or it isn't, but I know this. In other states, it's not. And so at some point, I would hope that we would take a look at that. We may just flat be wrong, but I got to tell you, if you're down trying to deal with Austin Electric and Power, they've got that preference and they're doing it right now. So whatever we do on this bill is fine, but I think we need to study that and figure out whether that's correct.
Madam Chair, if I may answer Senator Deed's questions.
Senator DeStefano.
Senator Deeds, we did determine that you were right years ago because DC has done it. They have preferential treatment. Maryland, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina. So everybody around us has already done this and said, we're giving preferential treatment. Virginia is the only state in our area and of the Southern Conference that does not do that. So we are already being disadvantaged by our surrounding states because they're doing it and we're not. So the repercussions Senator Deeds was talking about, we're already feeling them. They're already giving preferential treatment to theirs. We're not treating Virginia businesses on an equal playing field at all. So we're already disadvantaged because when they come here, no preferential treatment for anyone. When we go there, they get preferential treatment over us. Again, in every surrounding state to include those north, south, and west of us. We don't have anyone east of us, otherwise I'd say east, but we got a notion there. So, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, that's where we are. And I believe the Manufacturing Commission is one who did, in fact, put time, effort in studying this because we brought a very similar bill for the last 3 years. And when they did look at it and they saw the preferences everybody else was providing, they said, we've got to do it to ourselves. because we're being disadvantaged, and everyone else around us and south, and as Senator Newman said, Texas, we actually modeled what Texas was doing because everyone else is doing it around us, and we're being left behind.
Madam Chair, I
Senator
made a
Deeds.
motion. I don't know if it was ever seconded.
Yes, you made a motion to PBI
and
and
write a letter
refer
to
it to the
Public
Public
Procurement
Procurement Group. It's been moved and seconded. All that Senate Bill 1115 be PBI'd, but a letter be sent to the Public Procurement Group. All in favor of that motion, vote aye. Opposed, no.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you very much.
Ayes 11, noes 4.
Ayes 11, noes 4. The bill is PBI'd, but we will send a letter. Let's see. Senator Rouse.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was speaking to SB 1527.
SB 1527.
Yes, Madam Chair, and there's an amendment to this.
Okay, would you read the amendment?
Madam Chair, it's a substitute. It gets a little more targeted with the language from the prior committee's substitute, and then also adds an extra subdivision to the definition of organization, social organization, to capture other stakeholders.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to adopt the substitute?
So moved.
Moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Substitute's adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 501c7 organizations were already allowed to operate gaming between 2013 and 2021. The 2021 gaming law severely limited how much gaming 501c7s could operate, capping it at $40,000 gross annual cap. And the 2022 law completely excluded them from gaming because some broader language was struck from the bill. SB 1527 significantly narrows the version of the 501c7 language that was struck out of last year's legislation. This bill looks to affect those that have been negatively impacted by Chapter 73A of the 1926 supplement of the Virginia Code of the 1924, quote, separation of races, also known as the Public Assemblies Act, by which the General Assembly required that racial segregation of all public events in Virginia. Some examples of these 501c7s that operate today from a philanthropic perspective are African American sororities and fraternities, and this amendment that just included incorporated 501c7s that look to donate to heart disease and other various cancers.
Okay, are there questions for the patron? Is there a motion?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1527 in the nature of a substitute be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Did we do this one? Oh, it was in the minimal impact, okay. His other one.
That's a different one. So, but, yeah, that one we already did a while back.
Okay, the Senator Lewis, Senator Hashmi. Okay. Okay.
Madam Chair, Senator Stewart said, do what we will with his, when he left.
Could somebody tell me what the number is? I don't.
The first, Madam Chair, the first bill from Senator Stewart is Senate Bill 1022.
1022.
I can't find it. Yeah. Madam Chair, would you like Tyler to
Yes,
give you a
please,
description of the bill?
Tyler, please.
Senate Bill 1022 relates to state correctional facilities and mandatory reporting of all offenders released. Requires the Crime Commission to publish on its website the name of each inmate released early from a Department of Corrections facility, and then report to the General Assembly annually on whether such offenders have been charged or convicted of a violent felony while on parole or post-release supervision.
Madam Chair, if Senator Stewart were here, I'd ask, and maybe somebody else can answer, why the state corporation or the state crime commission would have this responsibility and not the Department of Corrections.
Yes, Senator Norman.
Madam Chairman, I think perhaps a more dispositive question is really, does the Crime Commission have the latitude and or the appetite to do this? And I would suspect not.
Then I've got a motion.
Okay, give us a motion.
That we PBI the bill.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1022 be PBI'd. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, no.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is PBI'd.
Madam Chair, his next one is Senate Bill 1383. Would you like staff to describe that one?
Please.
Madam Chair, this bill directs the Virginia Fusion Intelligence Center to establish a 24/7 mental health crisis intervention hotline and develop and implement policies and procedures for communicating with appropriate law enforcement as necessary. It does have a fiscal impact, and I believe the question was raised whether or not it was duplicative of the 988 system.
So we don't know if it's duplicative, or we say it is duplicative. Mike.
Madam Chair, I mean, that was the question. I mean, the description of it is a 24/7 toll-free mental health crisis intervention hotline. I mean, that is what 988 is. It's for mental health or, suicide prevention. So,
Madam Chair, do we have any idea whether the Fusion Center is willing to take this on?
Madam Chair, I'm not sure, but I mean, it has the fiscal impact of $2.5 million. So I'm assuming if you give them the resources, they would probably do it.
If we're going to report, Madam Chair, if anybody has an appetite to report this bill, we're going to have to put a cause on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I move we put the cause on the bill.
Second. It's been moved and seconded the clause be put on the bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Now that the, no. Okay. So it seems, the opinion seems to be it's duplicative of what's already happening. But is there a motion?
Move to PBI.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill as amended be PBI'd. All in favor, record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is PBI'd. Yeah. No, he didn't say no. Senator Bell's bill.
Okay.
No, we should, let's do the one.
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 1491, Senator Bell, relates to the Virginia Procurement Act construction requirements. It exempts construction management contracts involving infrastructure from complying with the current requirement that the construction manager perform no more than 10% of the work on a project and the remaining 90% of the work be bid out to a subcontractor.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator.
Is Senator Bell going to be here?
No.
Well, then I would move that we pass the bill by for the day, and we send a letter to the same public procurement work group that we sent a letter on Senator Steff's bill.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator.
I believe this was the unanimous recommendation of a DGS work group that had studied this and brought the stakeholders together, if it's the one that came from General Laws yesterday. we heard testimony that there was agreement among the parties, I thought, in the work group.
I'll second that.
Substitute motion, move to report.
Which were,
I was second ahead, but then she substituted.
there's a substitute motion to report. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, no.
Give me some greens. Give me some greens. Come on, Marson. No, Dave. Jesus Christ. Here you go.
That's why we wanted to have this study.
Ayes 12, noes 4.
Ayes 12, noes 4. The bill is what? Reported, okay.
Madam Chair, the next bill is Senate Bill 1493, Senator Bell. This relates to the Virginia School for the Deaf and Blind. It requires that the Board of the Virginia School for the Deaf and Blind be subject to the discretion and supervision of the governor, and then it would remove the School for the Deaf and Blind from the responsibilities of the Virginia Information Technologies Agency. Last year, a similar bill passed and required the school to develop a plan, and the cost for the school to independently provide its own IT was around $700,000 each fiscal year.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair.
Yes.
The information I have is that this would reduce revenue to VITA by $300,000. Is that what the $700,000?
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, that is what the School for the Deaf and Blind pays to VITA now for technology services. If they were to move away from that model, VITA would lose the $300,000 from the school, and then the school would have to spend an additional amount of money, which the report that the school developed with the consultant was $700,000.
Well, then, Madam Chair, if we're going to report, I move that we put a clause on this bill, financial contingency clause.
Is there a second to put it on? It's been moved and seconded that the clause be put on Senate Bill 1493. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the clause is on. Is there a motion?
Move for report.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1493 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, noes 0.
Ayes 16, noes 0. The bill's reported.
Madam Chair, the next bill of Senator Bell's is Senate Bill 826. This has to do with the School of the Deaf and Blind and their authority to employ campus police officers. They currently don't have campus police officers. They have security officers. I believe the issue here is that there would be an impact if they were to hire police officers, and it would have to be, you'd have to incorporate funding related to the Virginia Law Enforcement Retirement System and the Line of Duty Act. You could also deal with this particular one in the budget.
Is there a motion? I think that this, yeah, but it's. Does this need the clause?
I move that we put the clause on the bill. Yes. Financial contingency.
It's been moved. Is there a second to put the clause on the bill? It's been moved and second that the clause be put on the bill. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Clause is on the bill. Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second to report the bill as amended? It's been moved and seconded. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, noes 0.
Ayes 16, noes 0. The bill is reported as amended.
Madam Chair, I believe that's the entire list of non-committee member bills. So now what's remaining is for members who are on the committee.
Okay.
If you want to go in alphabetical order, Senator Barker has several.
Okay, Senator Barker. What order would you like?
We'll start out with Senate Bill 1346. This is a bill that deals with income tax options and would provide a benefit to a retail provider of retail service heavily in Virginia that is headquartered here and has many stores and would be able to expand in other places with the advantages of allowing an affiliated group of corporations with 80% or more of their sales derived from retail company activity to apportion all their income using a single sales factor rather than having to file a number of tax forms because of the variety and the number of retail outlets. So this would provide significant benefit, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions?
It says significant impact on.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that the bill be reported.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1346 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 10, no 6.
Ayes 10, no 6. The bill is reported.
All right, next one is Senate Bill 1349. This is dealing with another specific situation. It deals with the root sales factors that for internet services. The root infrastructure is only about a dozen or so in the entire country that operate, and they have run into a similar situation from the previous bill to the previous bill, and they're by being able to have a hybrid sales factor for internet root infrastructure providers, they would be able to substantially invest and do operations in Virginia rather than being relocating to another state. So it does provide a benefit, and they have over 500 jobs already operating in Virginia here. So, and there is a substitute for this, and there is someone who can answer questions if need be on the proposal here.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
The bill be reported.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1349 be reported as amended. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bills are reported.
All right. Next, we have Senate Bill 1405, and this deals with the issue of income taxes and rolling conformity. Every year, we seem to be, when we get down here, we seem to be adjusting our rules as it relates to the income tax based upon some of the actions that have been taken at the federal level. When federal action is taken, we often conform, but we also pass bills that provide some places where we do not fully conform with the federal provisions that were changed in the preceding year. So it's created a significant issue for taxpayers in terms of being able to get their forms, their tax forms in a quick manner when the bills, when the action that we take doesn't come until sometime in late February or March. So that has provided a barrier or a situation that's not conducive to getting their taxes paid on quickly and collecting refunds where they have that. And in addition, it's overwhelming the CPAs and other people who are providing the tax because they have to wait to be able to get this done. Do we have a substitute, a committee substitute for this? And okay, yeah.
Tyler, Steve, can you describe the substitute?
Yes, Madam Chair. It would reduce the deconformity provisions trigger from 50 million to 25 million, and then also apply a $75 million cumulative cap from which we would do, yeah.
So what this bill would do would be that we would automatically adopt the changes at the federal level, the impact of the changes at the federal level that would be minimal in aggregate to the revenues in Virginia, and on the larger tickets that they're the 25 million and greater, up to about 75 million, we would be able to make our own decision with those, and in the process, in the way that we do everything right now.
So you've heard the substitute. Is there a motion on the substitute?
So moved on substitute.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be agreed to. Senator Newman, did you have a comment?
A question to Senator Barker. Senator Barker, under the substitute and the new collars, if something like the Trump tax cut was to go away and it would mean a significant tax increase, right, or revenues coming in, do the triggers happen that way or just
both?
They actually, what it would do is anytime there's a change at the federal level, whether it's something that with the Trump tax, which went into effect at the end, it was adopted in late 2017. Right. Then that we would have done something maybe a little differently in 2018 and not had to work so hard to get that resolved. But then also if those expire and are not extended at the end of the time periods for which they're have been set at the federal level, then we would have would address that issue again. So
we would.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Okay. Yes, Senator Hanger.
Just one question. Is there like a fail-safe override if something funny would happen at the federal level, like they would increase on high taxpayers, or rather 100 million and decrease the other way, where it nets out to zero, or vice versa?
Well, in aggregate, you have to look at the full effect there and make a determination, and we would still have the ability to intervene in it.
So that there's an override feature? In other words, it's not likely, but it was just
right,
something that we wouldn't anticipate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's okay. It's not likely that Congress would do something rational like that, but I was just thinking.
Okay. Is there a motion on this bill, on 1405?
Okay. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported.
Yes.
Okay. Senate Bill 1339.
Senate Bill 1339. This is dealing with the issue of staffing, minimum staffing standards at the nursing homes in Virginia. Right now, we've had actually a fairly long process dealing with this issue. There are a lot of challenges in the nursing home industry as right now. And one of the there's clearly some shortages, and actually through reports that and the analysis that was done through the Joint Commission on Healthcare, it was more than 20% of the nursing homes had what was perceived and recognized as inadequate staffing. What we have done is we have worked with the nursing home industry and been able to come up with a bill that should lead us to have adequate staffing levels at the nursing facilities throughout Virginia. There may be some issue in terms of getting up to the staffing levels in every instance quickly. There are clearly areas in Virginia where there are not enough people that are want to provide services in either nursing homes, assisted living, or other comparable situations. But what it would do is it would provide on an annual basis an adequate staffing situation in virtually every nursing home in the Commonwealth. And there are, in long term, there would be the health department would evaluate those that were did not have adequate staffing, and would ask for the plans to resolve those situations, and then eventually would have fines that would be implemented there. So I'll be happy to answer any questions on that, and it's something that is already in place in about 35 states. So,
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Deeds.
How does this relate to the bill that's moving through the other body?
Actually, Delegate Orrock has the bill in the other body.
Yes.
And I have the one here, and these are the same bills. So,
thank you.
They have been, we've worked through them and addressed a lot of issues and gotten cooperation from the nursing home industry.
Okay.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
I agree with the philosophy, and I know that we need it. But what happens if they cannot come up with enough? Are they going to have to reduce the number of patients?
That we would have to have regulations set up as to how the health department would evaluate these situations. But what we have is we've delayed the implementation of this for a couple of years because there are clearly some places where it's very difficult to find adequate staff now. And we would have to come up with ways in which the Commissioner of Health would be able to make the determinations and when they have their plans to resolve their situations and hopefully get to an adequate staffing level, and then would be able to make judgments as to how to address the fines that might eventually be required in some instances.
Thank you. I guess I still have concern because a number of the nursing homes I see and deal with cannot find help today. And I'm not sure how finding them is going to help the situation.
Senator Barker.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I mean, that's definitely the case in quite a few nursing homes around the Commonwealth and also across the country, because we've had staffing shortages in the nursing industry and in the CNAs that also provide services within these facilities. And that's part of the reason we've given them a good long period of time to be able to address those things. And it may become incumbent upon us to be able to make sure that we are turning out enough nurses and certified nursing assistants to be able to meet this need.
Is there a motion?
Move the report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1339 be reported. Please record your vote.
We look at it next session, see if it really makes sense.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported.
Get feedback on it.
All right. Next is Senate Bill 1519. This deals with the Virginia College Savings Plan, which has been operating in Virginia for close to 30 years now. It's a 529 plan that under federal law and operates. It provides an opportunity for people in Virginia, and obviously not limited to people in Virginia, but potentially in other states as well, to be able to provide a prepaid, put money in to be able to deal with the situation of the, whether they're children, grandchildren, others who are, to build up a opportunity for them to have a lot of funds salted away to be able to deal with college tuition and those types of things there. We have, Virginia has the largest 529 plan in the entire country. So we've had tremendous success with the operation of the plan here. There has been there's been a move now to sort of reevaluate some of the things that are being done, to look at opportunities to be able to address other issues there, and to develop funding plans that would be helpful to Virginia families, but also to families from other states that are investing in these in this 529 plan as well. And what is we're going to, with this, there is a committee substitute, so they can they present that. So,
Madam Chair, Senator Barker, the committee substitute would add a reenactment clause. It would also add a legislative work group to develop options.
So, yes. What? Yeah,
is there a motion to adopt the substitute?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded the committee substitute be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Senator Barker.
All right. We do have people here who could answer questions if anyone has some. And with that, I'll make a motion to report the bill.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill as amended be reported. Please record.
One question, please, Madam
yes.
Chair. Thank you. Madam Chair, and Senator Barker, is the one of the thrusts of this is the intention to basically preserve the investment that families have made in the fund rather than looking at that large sum and perhaps use it for other purposes?
Well, actually what has led up to this is the fact that we have substantial assets in the plan, and there are a number of different options that could be looked at there. One would be returning some of the fees and benefits to the families where they have more money in there than they would be using for their tuition, for their children, et cetera. And also looking at a number of other options that might be available as well.
Madam Chair, I guess I think that the thrust would be then to protect the family's investments, right, and not use that money that had been accumulated, rather significant amounts of money for other purposes that would encroach on the investments. There are other sources of money flowing into the fund, I understand that. Right. But the actual investment by the families and the returns on those investments should be protected. Is that clear? Is that what it would do?
This would open up some options here. There have been some other small steps that have been taken in sort of action, how we would do that. And if you want to have someone answer that, we have the director of the plan here. So,
Madam Chair, thank you. I think that helps clarify for me. I've spoken with the 529 director.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Okay. So,
Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
And I apologize, but we had a pretty intense hearing on this, and Senator Serville had a companion bill that was very specific in taking the surplus and creating a scholarship fund, and I voted against that. I also voted against this bill. This bill's more open-ended, but I have the same concern as Senator Hanger that this fund belongs to the depositors, and I don't really believe we're sort of at liberty to spend it. And I recognize there's a lot of moving parts here, and there's also collateral income that's been sort of earned somewhat separately. But I would make a caution that we need to tread very, very carefully here, that this fund was set up to benefit the depositors, not to achieve a larger goal.
Madam Chair.
Senator
just to address your point, Senator Peterson, we set up the work group to be able to deal with these issues and make recommendations prior to when we would come back here next year, and so that we can be on strong ground that in terms of consensus on the issues. So.
Okay. So the motion is to report with a substitute. Please record your vote.
Ayes 11, noes 4.
Ayes 11, noes 4. The bill is reported. Okay, Senator Edwards.
Madam Chair.
Is this our last bill?
Sure. I wish we were our last bill. Madam Chair, Senate Bill 940 has to do with
Okay, Senator Edwards.
Senate Bill 940 has to do with court-appointed counsel. It increases the statutory cap, for example, from the district court of $120 to $240 and on up to circuit courts. The court-appointed attorneys differ from the public defender's offices. For example, in Roanoke City, there's a public defender's office. They're full-time. Court-appointed attorneys in Roanoke County and Salem, for example, there's no public defender's office there, so the courts rely upon attorneys who are willing to take these cases. And they've been woefully underpaid for years and years and years, so all this does is double it. And there is a budget amendment to deal with that. So with that recommendation, I move that we report the bill, Senate Bill 940.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator.
As much as I love Senator Edwards and I love this budget amendment, I think the responsible thing for us to do is put a cause on this bill.
Yeah, there is a budget amendment, so.
Okay, the motion is to put the clause on the bill. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the clause be on the bill, and I would just point out that JLARC is doing a study on this, and it will be completed this fall. Okay, so the motion is put the clause on.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor of the clause, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move the report.
It's been moved and seconded. The bill as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Okay.
Bill's reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next bill is Senate Bill 1019. This has to do with Goodwill Industries providing a school in Northwest Roanoke for overage people to get industry recognized credentials, dual enrollment with the community college if they're willing to do it, and a high school diploma. As far as I'm aware, there's no budgetary impact, and we have some people from Goodwill here if you'd like to hear from them, but with that, my understanding, there's no fiscal impact from talk to staff. So with that, I recommend that the bill be reported.
Madam Chair, is there?
Yes, Senator Deeds.
Is there a committee substitute for this? I would move the substitute then.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute be adopted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have a substitute.
I move the bill be reported.
Second.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, the substitute becomes a Section 1 bill and just directs the Department of Education and SHEV to study the issue statewide.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I'll second the motion to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1019 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported.
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 1080 is a bill that passed the Senate last year. It's slightly revised this year. And the bill was to increase the jurisdiction of the juvenile and domestic relations district courts from 18 to 21. There's a long history there. The bill would not go into effect for 2 years. There is a budgetary amendment as well. And so I move that the bill be reported.
My understanding, and I will ask staff about this, is the study has not been completed and it's been requested that it continue.
Madam Chairman, Senator Edwards, that's correct. That's correct. Last year in the budget, we directed the administration to do a work group to study the cost and feasibility of this legislation. This study began in December, but the work group is ongoing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I move the bill be reported and study will continue. It doesn't go into effect for 2 years.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
What? I know, that's what I'm trying to say. Doesn't make any sense.
Okay. So the study is continuing. There is no recommendation yet, so it's a little hard to deal with this.
I don't know that there's a continuing anything, as far as I'm aware.
Madam Chairman?
We need to get the thing on the books to move, otherwise it won't go into effect, but they will have to continue studying the total number of judges you need and that type of thing, but there is a budgetary amendment, but we need to get the thing moving, otherwise nothing will happen. It's going to take 2 years to get this thing up and running. That's why it's important to get the bill passed.
Senator Norman.
Madam Chairman, I'm struggling a little bit to understand the rationalization of this. We started a 2-year study last year, and that was to give us a fuller perspective. We have some idea what the fiscal impact is, which is not exactly de minimis, but I would think we would want the results of the full 2-year study before us so that we can make an informed decision. And my myopic perspective is it'd be premature to pass this bill, even with a delayed effective date, until we have a chance to review the study.
Well, Madam Chair,
if I may add that the fiscal impact that we have in front of us is up to $118 million a year, ongoing.
I don't think that's right. It's there's a budgetary amendment, $3.8 million, but it won't go into effect in 2 years. But you can't just do it overnight. That's why you need to get a head start. So, and there's a budgetary impact, and we just discussed this at the Judiciary Committee before. So, if we say we got to have a study first, it still takes time to get moving because you need to bring on more judges and fewer judges, maybe at the General District Court level, but certainly more judges at the Juvenile and Domestic Relations District Court level. So, and like I say, there's a budgetary amendment to do this. And any further delay is just going to delay it another 2 years, or however long it takes.
So what would the committee like? What's the?
I move to report.
Substitute
like
motion
we
to
did
pass
last year.
To pass the bill by indefinitely.
The substitute motion is to PBI as we wait for the ongoing study that we had already
We don't know
requested.
when the study's going to be completed.
You
anyway. Yeah, Madam Chair, we don't know when the study's going to be completed. It's a court study.
All right, we have a motion to PBI the bill and await the results of the study. All in favor, please record your vote aye.
Ayes 11, noes 5.
Ayes 11, noes 5. Bill's PBI'd as we await the study.
Madam Chair, I'd like to know when there's a study that's ever going to be completed. It's a court study, not our study. So anyway.
Okay. Senator Hanger, you have 914?
Yes, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Senate Bill 914 deals with the Office of Data Governance, and what it does is makes permanent what we had established that had a sunset provision on it, the Office of Data Governance and also the Chief Data Officer. Madam Chair, as this vehicle was available to us, there is now a plan that we will develop a substitute that will be a part of this bill, which will deal with some of the evolution of our workforce plan this year. And conceptually, that has been developed, and some of that could be shared at this time by staff. And I'm amenable to it, and the Chief Data Officer and his staff are amenable to it.
Good. Okay.
Madam Chair, the substitute proposes that as part of the new agency that we'll hear in another bill, is to have some collaboration to look at the data systems and then to help with more of the outcomes data and data transparency.
Okay, so is there
Madam Chair, I move the adoption of the substitute, and it has to be conceptual, as was explained right now, because staff hasn't had time to draft it.
Yes, okay. There's a motion. Is there a second to adopt the substitute in concept?
Seconding concept.
It's been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move that the substitute bill as be reported.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 914 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Senator Lucas, you have Senate Bill 1211. I believe you have a substitute.
Yes. Madam Chair, there is a substitute? Yes.
Madam Chair, Senator Lucas, the substitute just becomes a Section 1 bill affirming the Commonwealth's support for the merger, references deliverables that are in the budget, and asks the relevant committees to sign off on the merger meeting those deliverables before moving forward.
Okay, is there a motion on the substitute?
That's the motion I move.
It's been moved and seconded the substitute in concept be agreed to, be adopted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1211 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. I believe next is Senate Bill 1162. No? Okay, Senate Bill 1260.
Yes, Madam President, I don't think there's another substitute or amendment to this one. Okay. Madam President, why are we saying president tonight? Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill 1260 is the National Teacher Certification Incentive Reward Program and Fund. And what the bill does, it will it's an incentive reward program and fund that will make eligibility for incentive grants, renames the National Teacher Certification Incentive Rewards Program and Fund as a National Board Certification Incentive Rewards Program and Fund, and expands eligibility for incentive grant awards from such fund pursuant to such programs from solely teachers who have obtained national certification from the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards and all public school staff who are candidates for initial national certification or maintenance of national certification to cover certain costs of obtaining or maintaining such certification. Madam Chair, the bill also declares eligibility for an annual incentive grant award in the amount of $7,500. All public school staff who have obtained or maintained such certification. Current law declares eligible for an annual incentive grant award of $5,000 in the first year and $2,000 in each subsequent year. All teachers who have obtained or maintained such certification. And with that, Madam President, Madam Chair, I move that the bill be reported.
So second. All in favor of reporting the bill, please record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
My voice is so scratchy.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill's reported. Okay, 1448.
Madam Chair, please excuse my scratchy voice. I think I got this from Sasslaw. Madam Chair, Senate Bill 1448 is Norfolk State University and Virginia State University. It reduces the rate tuition charges for certain students. It permits the Norfolk State University Board of Visitors and Virginia State University Board of Visitors to charge reduced rate tuition to any non-Virginia student who is enrolled in the program at the relevant institution that leads to employment in high demand fields as determined by the Board of Visitors of the relevant institution based on data compiled and provided by the Virginia Office of Education Economics.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator Evans.
If I could ask Senator Lucas a question, do these students then commit to work in Virginia in the high demand fields?
That is the hope, yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Madam Chair, while you're waiting, I just wanted to add that the language also incentivizes students to graduate and complete their studies in high demand fields, which will ultimately help to increase each institution's graduation rate, at the same time motivate them to stay here in the Commonwealth upon graduation, to answer Senator Evans' question.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, sorry. Senator Norman.
Senator Lucas, I'm late to the party on this, so if you could help me. Do these third and fourth year students that are potentially receiving a reduction in tuition and fees, do they have to obtain employment in Virginia?
Well, it says in the language that it incentivizes students to graduate and complete their studies in these high demand fields, and that at the same time motivate them to stay here in the Commonwealth upon graduation. It doesn't say they have to, but it says that it motivates them to.
Thank you.
Is there a motion on the bill?
I move the bill be reported, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1448 be reported. Please record your vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill's reported.
Can you motivate them? We'll make them have to pay the difference back.
Like they do in the apprenticeship program.
Okay, Senate Bill 1162, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could we do 1466 first? I have two.
Okay.
1466. All set? Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the Electric Vehicle Rural Infrastructure Program. This bill in concept came through the Senate and the House last year. It died in the appropriations process. We are seeing around the Commonwealth that there is a shortage of electric charging stations, and it's starting to impact travel to distressed areas, especially rural jurisdictions. People, as they get more and more electric cars, are going to places where they can get their cars charged. And what this bill does is allow for grants that'll pay for 70% of the developmental costs, not the utility connection, but the construction of the charging stations. And it came through unanimous out of the Transportation Committee. And there's a budget amendment for $25 million. Now, what we don't know, and the staff is working on, we don't know how much money we would actually need if there's a federal matching requirement here that money can be used for. And that's certainly an amount that can be determined, but there's a $25 million budget amendment in there. The federal infrastructure money that's coming down is pretty much geared towards the interstate systems and highway corridors, and not the areas where we need to get people to our rural parks, trails, attractions, and what have you. And we can't let them get too far behind. It's going to really impact the economies of our rural areas.
Madam
and
Chair.
So that's what the bill does.
Okay, thank you. Senator
Madam
Deeds.
Chair, it seems to me that there are one or two things we can do to this. I mean, I like the idea. We could pass the bill by indefinitely and say we're going to take care of it in the budget, but I like the idea of voting for this bill. So I say I move that we put a cause on it.
Well, do we need that, Senator Deeds, with the budget amendment in there?
Yeah, no, but you put in a budget amendment doesn't mean you get it.
Well, I understand that, but I think the amount could be certainly determined and reduced, but put the clause on it, that's fine.
So I've moved the clause.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded the clause be put on Senate Bill 1466. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
And I move to report the bill as amended.
It's been moved and seconded the bill as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported. You also have 1162.
Yes, Madam Chair, we do. And first, I'd like to ask the staff, there's a line amendment, if that could be reported.
Madam Chair, the line amendments are on line 27 after roadway, inserting such key business terms shall not include the assumption by the Commonwealth of any private debt. And then it also adds on line 41 an additional PPTA reference.
Okay. I move the amendments.
Okay.
Yep.
It's been moved and seconded the amendment be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's agreed to.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill deals with the Greenway. The Greenway is a privately operated road existing within Loudoun County. It has switched from being just a local road for individuals, but now it is only 45% used by Loudoun County residents, 55% used by Fairfax, Winchester, Frederick, Clark, West Virginia. And what has happened here, we're stuck with very, very high tolls on this road. And there are a number of exits on the road, and if you use one exit, you pay the full toll, as if you had driven it end to end. And this is under the Highway Corporation Act, and what we're asking here in this bill is that it be moved to the PPTA, the ability for the state to negotiate a deal through the PPTA, through the Commissioner of Highways, the Secretary's office, to be able to come up with a deal that will allow for distance-based tolling and a reduction in end-to-end tolling. And there's a lot of disagreement, Madam Chair, over whether this obligates the state to anything. I've had 2 administrations in a row say it doesn't obligate us to anything. There's some concerns by the committee that there could be potentially someday some obligation. I've put the budget amendment in, as you've just heard, the amendment to it, to ensure that we don't take on any debt. But what the bill also does is increase the amount of time that the agreement is in place so that they can leverage the borrowing to make this road continue to be viable and to be able to do the distance-based tolling, which my understanding is you can't do it through the Highway Corporation Act. And so we've kicked this card down the road. It qualifies for frequent bouncing miles. And the only way we can get this dealt with is a negotiation through the PPTA and to see what they can come up with if they can solve this problem. Otherwise, this problem that's gone on for years and years and years just piles up. And the next time this goes for a rate review, my understanding is it's most likely that the rates will just increase. If you can get the rates distance-based and end-to-end, more Loudoun County people will use the road, perhaps driving up the revenue, making the bonds and debt be able to be repaid. But right now, as these tolls just go up, the usage is going to decline because of higher tolls.
Senator Norman.
I apologize, Madam Chairman. What does your budget amendment do?
The budget amendment?
I thought you, Madam Chairman, I thought you said you had a budget amendment in. Did I miss
that was on the previous bill. But this has been referred to finance, and you know, this is the second administration that's tried to do this. We took the bill; it was introduced by the administration under Governor Northam. And then this administration asked to take a look at it. They studied it, said they could do it, that there wouldn't be any cost. There's perhaps some potential cost that they disagree on. But if this thing just goes on in perpetuity unless we can begin to solve it, let's see what the negotiation can do, what they can come up with in the best interest of the Commonwealth and the citizens who use this road.
Staff has pointed out several potential fiscal impacts in the out years, and I wonder if you could outline them for the committee.
Madam Chair, we had concerns. There is significant debt load on this road. The amendment as proposed would keep the Commonwealth from assuming that debt, and there's some discussion about, but would be this negotiation to decide ultimately how the financials are going to play out, and so that the debt might be an issue in the negotiations. There's also the potential of the property tax that's currently paid on the road and becoming an issue of payment in lieu of taxes to Loudoun County. The suggested amount, and that also would be something that would have to be negotiated at some future point between the Commonwealth and the county, but the suggested amount was $4.1 million.
Madam Chair, if I might, as part of the negotiations, that loss to Loudoun County could become part of those negotiated solutions so that the Greenway and the tolls would be able to absorb that loss for the county. But I would just close with, this is the most studied road in America. It's been difficult since its inception. This is the way to keep it going and give us an opportunity to start to fix this thing. Let's find out what our negotiators can do to solve this problem. Otherwise, it just goes for a rate hike, and with inflation and what have you, it's just going to go up. And the people of Loudoun County are going to continue to use it less. People in Fairfax are going to use it less because, if you're in for a mile, you're in for the whole ride. And it's just really tough to continue on this way. This is a possible way out. Let's hear what the negotiators can do, or let's see what the negotiators can do.
Senator Newman.
Dave, if the normal PPTA, does it follow all that? Do we basically negotiate a deal, and then is there a mechanism for us to take a look at it on the other end and review that? I mean, I know that's not kind of the way a normal one, but is that something that we could do with this bill?
I don't know the legality of that, Senator Newman. This is the way every toll road in the Commonwealth of Virginia is managed through the PPTA. The difference here is this road was already constructed. And so there, we're kind of going back to try to do that. If that can be put into the PPTA, then perhaps the committee might have greater comfort, or if the bill can be amended to allow for this review to come back to the chairs of the Appropriations and Finance Committee, to enter into that discussion would be, I think, helpful to the project. But how much longer can we put this off?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would think if it's the will of the committee to support this, that it should be with the understanding that guardrails may be placed on it in the budget. It seems like it does need something, like Senator Newman was getting at there, in terms of what we expect to be within the negotiation, and then who would approve that. So, I think I could be supportive if we were understanding that there are going to be some guardrails put in the budget, but I don't think the bill, as it's in front of us, is sufficient.
Okay, and I would agree, Senator Hanger. If we're able to do that, that moves this forward. We can start solving this problem.
You think we could do it in the budget, Steve, to fix it?
This is a difficult one, but one thing that was not pointed out that staff has on our notes is that the remediation of outstanding bonds could be from $1.6 billion to $1.9 billion, which is big.
I was hoping that my amendment took care of that issue. We cannot assume that debt.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senator Marston, you mentioned a couple times about that the negotiators could try to look for a solution. Who will be at the table in these negotiations?
It would be, with the Greenway, certainly, and the Commissioner of Highways, the Secretary of Transportation, the administration, will be the folks who will, put this together. And their obligation is to do something in the best interest of the Commonwealth, certainly to take into consideration the needs of local government. But, Senator Norman, this has been decades of hassle over this thing. This is a potential way out.
He said we're not going to absorb that.
I would like clarification from staff. Has the $1.6 billion to $1.9 billion possible ramification been eliminated?
Madam Chair, my understanding and through discussions with the patron and the Greenway folks is that, we can't assume debt. That's not something that the Commonwealth can do. So it's somebody else's bonds. We can't assume their bonds. Right. However, they have this debt, and that is something that they would be bringing to the table in the negotiation. So it could be a factor in the negotiation when they're figuring out how it. What they have said to me is that it is going, and told us is that it's going, the extension of the time for the contract is how that would be handled, in that then they have longer term to be getting the revenue in. But once again, it's a factor in the negotiation, and we're not at the table yet.
Is there a motion on the bill?
Well, that does, Madam Chair, that does raise a question. What happens to the debt? If we're not going to assume, if the Commonwealth's taxpayers can't assume this debt, what happens to it?
288 or whatever it is, it's around,
Could I know we're not taking testimony, Madam Chair, but there might be someone here who could answer that,
Okay.
that question. Former Secretary of Transportation and current Secretary of Transportation, Shep Miller and Pierce Homer can back him up.
Virginia, if we didn't do that.
Madam Chair, lady, members of the committee. The debt is the debt of the Greenway, more appropriately known as Trip 2. The Commonwealth has no intention of assuming any debt, and I think the line item was intended to make sure of that. All we are attempting to do, which we've been asked to look at, and I think there's an opportunity to, is to find a way out of this mess that's up there by going to distance-based, by trying to reduce the tolls, and in essence, the lever that you have is to extend the term. So we're not going to, we have to do that in the best interest of the Commonwealth or in the public good. That's our charge. There's no intention, we don't have any ability to assume any debt. There's no way for us to assume any debt. Obviously, they have debt, and yes, they were going to, I mean, that's their issue in the negotiation. But this doesn't require us to do anything. It merely gives us an opportunity to sit down and talk with them and see if we can bring a deal together that makes sense for the Commonwealth. If we cannot deliver on that, we will walk away and leave it just the way it is now. But you're not going to get to distance-based tolling, and you're not going to get to a reduction of those toll rates if you leave it in the form that it's in now, in my view. And that's the way it's been for a long time, and we just keep struggling with it. So we merely were asking, like the previous administration, to give us an opportunity to talk to them and to see if we can find common ground in something that's in the best interest of the toll payers and the citizens of Virginia. That's it.
And will whatever the upshot of this is come back to the legislature?
No, ma'am, it does not. Under the PPTA typical process, it'd be very hard to negotiate a deal that then has to go back to another body for, in this case, the whole legislature. I'm a businessman. That's a really tough thing. So like every other PPTA we have done, you have a committee, the committee oversees it, the money staffs are on that. The Secretary of Finance would be involved in this, I would be involved with this. The commissioner would be involved in this. And we would do it under the auspices of the PPTA. But once the deal was finalized, those PPTA deals do not come back here, and I would tell you that it's just not practical to do that.
Okay, thank you for your
Madam Chair,
yes.
That would mean that Ms. Keyes would be on the steering committee that would be reviewing this as their counterpart in the House Appropriations Committee.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Hanger.
I really think that there is a need to do something up there with this, and I'd like to support this bill, but with the understanding that some guardrails would be added in the budget just to get this started, and with the understanding that all those deals don't have to be the same. There can be further scrutiny in terms, and it has to be in this instance because obviously the county that was operating it as a county kind of thing, and now it's a regional kind of thing, has to be addressed. So I would move that it be reported with the understanding that we're going to put some guardrails in the budget.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator
May I offer
Evan.
a substitute motion?
Yes.
To PBI?
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that the bill be PBI'd. Okay, all in favor of PBIing, please record your vote.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill is PBI'd. Okay. Senator McClellan. You have several, Senator McClellan, so just Do them, just tell us which ones you're doing.
I will. In the order that they're in my hand. I will start with Senate Bill 1329, which reported from Education and Health. This is, let me tell you the problem we're trying to solve. You may recall we changed the assessment process so that students would have an assessment at the beginning of the year, in the middle of the year, and towards the end of the year. And this school year is the first year that that was implemented. I will tell you, as a parent of 2 children in Richmond Public Schools, when I received the results of the first assessment that was showing where my seventh grader was on 7th grade SOL concepts, that report meant nothing to me. And you may remember at our retreat, several conversation with the Department of Education talking about how teachers and parents were confused by what the data in their assessments means. And therefore, it's difficult to have any kind of conversation as you are progressing through the year about where your child is, and what you as a parent would need to do to help move them along. This bill will help that problem by having the Board of Education create the Virginia Parent Data Portal that basically will have the department have a one-stop shop where parents can go and look at their students' assessment data that's clearly understood, that helps to explain to them what they're looking at means, and that is portable so that when their student goes to another school, they can track their progress regardless of the school that they're in. This bill sets that framework this year, and a working group to help implement it, but has a reenactment clause so that it won't be fully implemented until we have the benefit of that working group, and that's the bill.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Deeds.
I understand there's a committee substitute. Does the patron know about that?
No, I probably could have not said all of that if I did.
Is there a committee substitute?
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, there is. It would become a Section 1 bill to assess the creation of the student portal with the student assessment data, and would have the Board of Education and the Department of Education report back with the fiscal estimates by October 1st, 2023.
It essentially does the same thing. So,
So I'll move the
Was there a reenactment, Madam Chair, was there a reenactment clause on it? Oh, it's just Section 1.
it's just a work group now,
Okay.
and the work group will tell us how to do.
So I'll move the committee substitute.
It's been moved. Is there a second to the committee? And seconded, the committee substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. You opposed? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'd move to report the bill as amended.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, the bill as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
And I have Senator Marsden's voting thing up here. And now I have nothing.
Senator Peterson, take care of it.
And now I have me.
Okay, good. Okay.
I-16, no, 0.
I-16, no, 0. The bill's reported.
Okay, I think there is a committee substitute for Senate Bill 1325, which is my annual bill to implement the Board of Education's standards of quality.
Okay.
I would like to move the substitute, probably.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I believe there's a committee substitute for this bill.
Okay.
I want to second her motion.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. The committee substitute be adopted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it's adopted.
He should probably tell you what it is.
I got it. Madam Chair, Senator McClellan, the substitute would add the clause and would implement the Board of Education's recommendations for SOQ to improve increasing the required number of specialized student support positions from at least 3 to at least 4 such positions per 1,000 students. So number 6 of the
And I'd move we report the bill as amended.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1325 as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported.
All right, Senate Bill 1499. There was, what this would do is change, right now the Chief Executive Officer of the VCU Health System must be the Vice President for Health Sciences of VCU. This now changes shall to a may to say that it may be, but gives a little more flexibility to the boards of both organizations on hiring the hospital system's CEO. There was a budget amendment, or a budget, this was put in the introduced budget. However, this really should be in the code and not in the budget. And so I put this bill in and put a budget amendment in to take it out of the budget.
Madam Chair.
Senator
I just got a question. So this bill says that the chief executive officer is not the chief executive officer.
No, it says, so right now, the chief executive officer of the health system has to be the vice president of health sciences for VCU. This gives the board more flexibility that if they want to hire somebody else to be the CEO of the health system, they can do that, but both the board, the way it works is both the board of the health system and the board of VCU would have to agree to who that person is, but this just gives them more flexibility that it can be two separate people.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Deeds.
If the budget already says this, I move we PBI the bill and review it with the budget, review the budget language.
I guess, Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator McClellan.
This really has nothing to do with funding. It's really more is this a policy that should be made in the budget, or is this a policy that should be made in the code? And I didn't think it was appropriate for the governor to do this in the budget. I thought it was more appropriate for this body to do it in the code.
Okay, I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, is there a motion?
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1499 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported.
All right, now they get a little more complicated. So Senate Bill 1324 would have created a state child tax credit. It is very expensive, and I'm a pragmatist. So I have a substitute that would have the joint subcommittee on tax policy review the options for a state level child tax credit, and in the meantime, create the Virginia Family Economic Security Grant Program, which would provide grants for basically economic hardship grants to low-income families. There are about 3 or 4 localities that do this on a pilot basis now, and this would create a grant fund to allow any other localities who would want to do that to help provide some relief to those hardworking families that have found that they just can't meet basic needs. And there's a recent census data showed that nearly 44% of families with children report experiencing difficulty paying for normal household experiences. This gives us a grant program to help address that while we look at the feasibility of a child tax credit.
Okay, so we have your substitute.
Yes, which I...
And is there also a committee substitute?
Madam Chair, there is a committee substitute. It would remove the grant program going into the code and make it entirely a Section 1 bill for the Joint Tax Subcommittee to review the grant program for economic security payments in addition to the child tax credit and low-income tax credit for families.
Okay.
Okay with that?
Yes.
You don't have to be.
I mean, it's better than nothing.
Okay, she's a pragmatist.
I'm a pragmatist.
Move the adoption of the substitute, please.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the committee substitute be adopted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's adopted. Is there a motion on the
Move
bill?
to report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1324 be reported. Please record your vote.
I'm sorry.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill's reported.
All right, now my batting average is going to take a hit. Senate Bill 1327, you saw last year. This is the Cover All Kids bill that would create a state comprehensive health care coverage plan for children under 19, regardless of their immigration status. There are about 96,000 children in Virginia who don't have health insurance, and this would help close that gap.
This may surprise you, but it's a recommendation that we report this bill.
Second. That does surprise me.
Nope.
All right.
Oh, there's a technical amendment. Oh, darn.
Madam Chair, the amendment would delay coverage from taking effect until July 1, 2024.
So moved.
Is there a motion on the amendment? No, on the amendment.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second the amendment be adopted. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No, the amendment is adopted. Now the bill.
All right, I move to report.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1327 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 2, 1 abstention.
Ayes 13, noes 2, 1 abstention. The bill's reported.
All right, is there a substitute on this one? This is Senate Bill 1326. Okay. Senate Bill 1326 would direct the Commonwealth Transportation Board to use up to 30% of available funds in the Transit Ridership Incentive Program to support local, regional, and state entities in improving the accessibility of transit, bus passenger facilities, and transitioning public transit fleets to zero emission. You may recall that when we created the TRIP program in the 2020 Transportation Omnibus Bill, the guidelines were created and the funds put in based on pre-pandemic ridership data. And while ridership, it has not met pre-pandemic levels, but over time there have been some additional needs that have been identified, particularly around making transit access safer and healthier. So for example, putting bus shelters, sidewalks in some areas. And also we have seen more assistance needed in transitioning fleets to net zero emission facilities. And so this bill was designed to allow those projects to be funded through the grant and to identify up to 30% of the grant to go to that, which is consistent with sort of what has been left in that fund.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
I've got
Senator
a question.
Deeds.
So, and I think you answered part of it. How much is 30%? How much money are we talking about? And are you saying the money has been left in the fund, or I was wondering where the money would come from if you're you're squeezing a tube of toothpaste.
Right.
Where are you squeezing it from?
So right now the fund has not been fully utilized.
Okay.
And so the 30% allocation would be about $8 million. Total support for the fund is estimated to be about $26.8 million. So this was designed to say we're not taking money away from any programs that are currently using it because the fund is underutilized. Because when we estimated how much to use, it was based on transit ridership before the pandemic. Well, transit ridership has gone down. So that's the idea behind the bill is because of that, it's not fully being utilized. So we've identified these two additional needs. Let's use it to meet those needs.
Are there further questions? Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1326 be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 10, noes 6.
Ayes 10, noes 6. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, Senator Norman. You can do it here. Senate Bill 1030.
Madam Chairman, the bill's been heard a number of times, and I'm very mindful of it, so I'm not going to give you the total pitch on it, but basically what it provides are two provisions in it. One, that any public four-year institution that is embedding in their tuition and fees monies that are being used for financial assistance to needy students, one must be disclosed. And I deleted the language that required the articulation on the itemization of the fees, just the amount that is going to financial assistance for needy students. And the second provision is that families would be given the opportunity to opt out. This only pertains to in-state students. Out-of-state would continue to have to absorb it. It appears to me that we have been selectively providing some tuition abatements or assistance or reduction in some other situations out of sensitivities. And the reason I have brought this to the committee's attention is that when I started looking into it, it was apparent to me that there probably was nobody in Virginia who was aware that part of the tuition and fees that they were paying were being used to cross-subsidize the cost of education of other students. I remember that Peter Blake of Chev in the first subcommittee meeting said that he thought this amount should be spread across the citizens of Virginia, all 8.5 million, through taxation. Well, the irony of it is that these in-state students' families are paying their part of it as one of the 805 citizens, one of the 8.5 citizens, so they're really getting it twice. What was of concern to me that it ranges from some schools that are doing $0 on this to some that are doing $3,500 a year, which over the cost of education on a four-year institution would be $14,000. And so that is the reason that I brought it before the committee. So there are two provisions. One is it must be disclosed so there is some transparency. And secondly, that there's an opportunity to opt out. And I haven't been able to get a straight answer on this, but it does concern me if someone doesn't have the full amount of tuition and fees to pay and they have to borrow the money, say, through drawing down on their line of credit, that they're borrowing money to make this payment. And it has a I didn't mention this, but I'm sure the astute eyes of the Finance Committee picked it up, and that is, and I'm not being facetious, it has a delayed enactment clause on it. And the purpose of that is I know that it's a priority to provide additional funds for tuition assistance with this committee. I put in a budget amendment of an additional $100 million over and above what has previously been proposed. And it would also give us the opportunity to address appropriate finances next year as well. So that's the reason for the delayed enactment.
Are there questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Senator Edwards.
I think the real solution is, I think Senator Norman indicated he put $100 million. I put in $100 million too for the budget to reduce tuition across the board. That's really the solution.
Madam Chairman, it's nice to know that there's at least $200 million that has been proposed, and I appreciate Senator Edwards' help on that. I mean, the reality is that, and I didn't get into it, if you grasp what we've been paying per student, it's been declining over a period of years, and this is not something that has just come upon us. And I don't disagree that part of the solution is for the Commonwealth to put additional revenues in, but I think in the absence of disclosing it to families that they're entitled to know this amount, and secondly, that we provide additional relief and that they have the option to opt out.
Madam Chair.
I heard Senator Peterson.
I have a question. I don't know who knows the answer to this, but it seems to me colleges and universities are creatures of their charter. And under their charter, they can educate children and provide benefits. I don't know if they have the ability under their charter to basically give varying tuition based upon the financial ability to pay. My understanding is, or it has historically been, that we as a General Assembly make tuition, or we make funds available for scholarships, tuition assistance, whatever you want to call it. And obviously there's private foundations and private scholarships that are available. Do we allow the universities to vary their tuition based on ability to pay? Is that part of their charter, or are they just assuming they can do it?
Wendy, want to answer?
Does staff have an answer?
I would have to do, Madam Chair, Senator Peterson, some research on the charters. But what I would tell you is and I can also ask Wendy to jump into, it has been, since I was the higher ed analyst in 2006, it has been done for a long time. There's also multiple ways of doing it. We tried to sort of align it so that it's more apples to apples versus apple to oranges, but there's also there's a whole array of things. There are some where they are charging more in tuition. William & Mary had the Promise, I believe is what it was called, where it does get reallocated. There are also unfunded scholarships, which don't really necessarily show up on the book, and that means they give you a tuition discount. So it's not necessarily all done the same way. I'm not sure you're, even with the transparency aspect of the bill, that you wouldn't have trouble getting out some of that information.
Let me ask a further question, if I might.
Yes.
Let's say my child plays a sport, and she gets an athletic scholarship, and I assume that's paid through the UVA Athletic Foundation, which I contribute money to as a private citizen. But I've always assumed that that was not something that happens through, in other words, that there's some type of third-party source. Maybe I'm wrong.
Madam Chair, Senator Peterson, not all the institutions do it the same way. I would ask Wendy if she knows additional information. We also have maybe some representation in the room as well.
Madam Chair, to two parts. There is some authorization in the code for institutions to allow to provide waivers. There's also sections of the budget that do allow institutions to use tuition revenue for aid, and I can get that for you. I'm trying to look that up right now. In terms of the athletic scholarship, it can be provided by that, but I think institutions have the discretion to be able to choose how they apply. So there's discretionary waivers, and then there's non-discretionary waivers that are out there as well. But again, would turn to some institutions in the audiences that may be here.
Madam Chair, I've got a question for Senator Norman.
Yes, Senator Dietz.
I would ask the senator if he would consider it a friendly amendment to his truth and tuition bill if I offered an amendment to require the Commonwealth of Virginia to send a copy of the state budget to every taxpayer, so that they know exactly how, every taxpayer knows exactly how their money's being spent.
Senator Dietz, one of the things I've always admired about you is your sense of humor.
I think he was serious.
Madam Chair,
Senator Edwards.
Yeah, further thought about this. What you're doing is asking the universities in this bill to say, here's the amount that goes to some financial aid to somebody else from your tuition. The difficulty of doing that mechanically, I think, is adding numbers on top of numbers. I don't know how much it would cost, but you're getting the university to do something that I think they shouldn't have to do. But whether they can do it or not is one thing, but the cost of doing it, it seems to me, is ridiculous.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Norman.
Madam Chairman, actually that discussion came up, Senator Edwards, and obviously some form of communication between the college and to parents and students telling them what the tuition is and when it must be paid. And so whether that's done electronically or whether it is done with paper, it's not requiring any additional work or expense. And in fact, there had been some discussion about posting it on the websites, which would not incur a cost.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
Let me offer an amendment, and I think, I like this bill. I don't necessarily know if I like the opt-out part, because I think that adds a financial uncertainty that might be a little bit extraordinary. I think the information alone may drive some type of impetus that you may be looking for, but I can't vote for the opt-out, because I think that would really just put the finances in jeopardy. So would you strike the words opt-out? Would you accept that as a friendly amendment, or would that kill the whole bill?
It's an incremental progression.
Well, I'd move that amendment then, if I can get a second.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that opt-out be stricken from the bill. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. I believe the noes have it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. Please record your vote.
We are, but they're paying the taxes too, and that's the thing.
Ayes 6, noes 9, 1 abstention.
Ayes 6, noes 9, 1 abstention. The bill fails to report. I don't know how you were. Wait, do you want us to reconsider the vote? Just record it. Okay. Okay. We don't need to reconsider. She'll change it because it doesn't affect the outcome. Thank you. Okay. Senator Norman, 1099.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senate Bill 1099 deals with school resource officers incentive grants, which are in place, and they can be grants that are made to both elementary, middle, and high schools, and it's included elementary schools in it. And what it provides is that grants can be awarded to local law enforcement agencies in collaboration with the local school boards and pursuant to an understanding with the subcommittee. It has a prohibition against the grant money being used for firearms, tasers, and restraints, as I recall. And that's it.
Okay, was staff going to suggest a special clause on this?
Madam Chair, yes, there would be a special clause added as an amendment above what's been appropriated in Chapter 2.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
This would add a special clause to be an amendment above what's been appropriated in Chapter 2.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that the special clause be added. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Is there a motion on the bill?
Move to report, ma'am.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1099 be reported. Please record your vote.
You're saying that people like us should make a contribution. People and paying $14,000.
Ayes 12, noes 4.
Ayes 12, noes 4. The bill's reported. Just so people know, we have 2, 4, 5 bills to go. There is an end in sight. Okay, next, Senator Peterson, you have Senate Bill 954.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Senate Bill 954. It came out of General Laws and had a very enthusiastic hearing, several witnesses. This bill has to do with the Public Procurement Act and the use of CM at risk, construction management at risk, which has been very popular amongst certain segments of the procurement community, especially colleges and universities. And this bill puts some limits on it, basically saying for those projects within unless they're less than 5 million or over 125 million, that basically CM at risk would be limited to those instances where they would have to appeal to Department of General Services, where it would have to be, again, a unique project, one that has more than ordinary complexity. And basically, it gets back to the idea that competitive seal bidding is the preferred method. This is an issue that has come up in the contracting and construction community with medium to small sized businesses that would not have not been able to bid on these projects, and many of them testified in the General Laws Committee. And again, I don't want to rehash all of the details that happened, other than to say that this is an issue of importance to the business, small business community, and I'll bring it forward to you.
Is there a substitute motion?
Substitute motion to PBI with a letter to the public.
Skip the letter. I mean, you know.
Second to that.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that it be PBI'd and a letter be sent to the procurement work group. All in favor, record your vote aye. Opposed, nay.
Ayes 12, noes 4.
Ayes 12, noes 4. Bill is PBI'd and there'll be a letter. Senator Ruff, you have Senate Bill 1470.
All right. Madam Chairman, thank you. 1470 is the workforce bill. It came out of committee unanimously with a couple of people abstaining. I think that the Secretary of Labor did an excellent job talking to the various folks involved. They took out some parts in the substitute. They negotiated with the trade unions to make sure that they weren't going to be harmed in the process. And I think it's a pretty good bill at this point. There may be some changes as we move forward, but I think that where we need to be right now.
I believe there's a substitute.
Madam Chair, yes, the committee discussed several components. One is to further define the definitions for workforce training and workforce services. It also looked at increasing the business engagement role within the new workforce agency. And also, as discussed earlier, increasing coordination between the Office of Data Governance under the Secretary of Administration that was addressed with Senator Marsden's bill. Keeping the Innovative Internship Fund at Chev, and then adding legislators' representation to the work group, and expanding the timeline by 3 months, and making some changes to the line of credit and considering the use of general fund.
So is there a motion on the committee substitute?
I'll move the committee substitute. Second.
It's been moved in second that the committee substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's agreed to.
Don't worry about it right now.
Is there a motion on the bill? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1470 be reported. Please record your vote.
It's good stuff. Put it in my bill.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. The bill is reported. Senator Ruff, you have Senate Bill 912.
912, Senate Bill 912 deals with the Procurement Act by adjusting when contractual terms and conditions are considered in the procurement process for services. The fiscal impact statement determined there was no budget impact. General laws supported it unanimously. It moves the consideration of terms and conditions to the negotiation phase, which would simply make this process more consistent with the Procurement Act already works for other professions, including architects and engineers. You got anything?
Madam Chair.
Senator Barker.
This is another one of the procurement bills that we've been handling in the last hour or so. And I think, given that we need to follow the pattern here, and I would recommend that move that we pass the bill by indefinitely with a letter to the procurement group.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be PBI'd, but that letter be sent to the public body procurement work group to study it. All in favor of the motion, please record your vote. Aye. Opposed, no.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6. The bill is reported. No, it's PBI'd. Okay, let's see. Senator Saslaw, you have Senate Bill 1069.
Madam Chairman, I pulled this bill off of the floor on second reading because it turned out that there was revenue impacts, not a big one, and I'll get to that in a second. This is, in all the years I've been here, I've never seen a more convoluted situation that exists in the code with this. Apparently, I came here with Washington, back in 2020, the General Assembly passed legislation requiring drivers in Virginia to stop for pedestrians. And they crafted the legislation to essentially say that yield now means stop. But apparently federal law, as they discovered, short time later after the session was over, the federal laws prohibited them from putting up a sign saying that stop for pedestrians unless it was actually in the state law itself. Our law said yield. So they couldn't do it. And what this does is it puts the word, stop in there if they're either in your lane or they're in the lane and walking towards your lane. It won't apply to any intersection and there's not as many as you think, crosswalks, where the speed limit is in excess of 35 miles an hour. It won't apply to that. It has to be, the speed limit on the road has to be 35 or under, and it doesn't apply to any where there's limited access, like you see it near the Beltway as an example. It doesn't apply, it couldn't apply to that. What they allowed, no, not the Beltway, like Braddock Road, which crosses over, they do have these crosswalks, but you can't do it there. The other thing, when the bill got passed, the original law allowed for all of the state, except for Northern Virginia and the town of Ashland, the fine couldn't be in excess of $100. In those municipalities, it could be $100 to $500. The other thing is that this is not mandated. Local governments would have to decide that they want to do this. VDOT estimates that there are approximately 100 intersections around the whole state, in other words, in the areas where they control, in other words, a James City County, a Fairfax County, a Loudoun, a Mecklenburg, as opposed to, Richmond, Alexandria, Henrico, and Arlington, which are different than all the other counties. And they estimate the 100 signs, if that's how many municipalities opt to that, would run a total of $70,000. But again, like I said, the local governments would have to request it. So it's not mandated.
Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, is there an amendment?
There are technical amendments, line amendments.
Second.
What do they say?
Madam Chair, the line amendment. The line amendments are on line 13, introduced after stop, we're striking for and inserting when, and then on line 14, after stricken, stopped, we're inserting is within the driver's lane or within an adjacent lane and approaching the driver's lane.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
are those the amendments that get the cost down to $70,000?
No, VDOT estimates that there's an estimated 100 intersections where this could possibly be applied, and it would run about $700 a sign.
Madam Chair?
VDOT went back and looked at the numbers and did more analysis after the initial pulling of the bill when they thought it would cost a lot of money, and then they realized it was fewer intersections that it would apply to. So the 77 is the revised estimate, and they can absorb that.
Madam Chair, my question is do bicycles get to roll through the intersection, or do they have to stop?
Okay, so.
And the cities would have to pay for this themselves, as opposed to the counties that VDOT,
And VDOT has said they will absorb it, so
yes.
There's no fiscal impact to us.
Yeah.
So is there a motion?
The motion would be to report as amended.
Have we adopted the amendment?
I thought we did.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1069 be reported.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Senator
I support this, if for nothing else, just to put Saslaw through the ordeal of explaining this on the House side.
And with friends like you.
Okay. Please record your vote.
I-16, no, 0.
I-16, no, 0. Bill's reported. And now, for the very last bill. And you get it, Senator Vogel, because you have a V before
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to take it personally. I didn't think it was because I had a V in front of my last name. I have the last bill, Madam Chair. It's Senate Bill 1370, and this fine bill would have flown out of here on the block. It was supported unanimously, and it does not have a fiscal impact. It is a pilot project to underground transmission lines, and it was one of the highest priorities of my county. They sat here this entire night. It's a night they will never get back. I feel terrible about that. And the only reason, they have Scott Surville to thank, the only reason that it is out of the block is that there is a substitute. That substitute adds a second pilot project. I understand that we have carefully vetted it, and the co-chairs are now comfortable with that. And so, because it also has no fiscal impact, I'm going to move the substitute. And with that,
It's been moved and seconded, the substitute be adopted. All in favor? Please.
Aye.
Aye.
Please say aye. Opposed?
Substitute. And Madam Chair, the substitute adds a second pilot project to the one that I have in Fauquier County, and this one is in Fairfax. It's 7.5 miles, and it would underground that. And again, it has no fiscal impact. And with that, and the fact that it's the last bill, I will not talk it to death.
Okay.
Does the co-chair have anything he would like to say?
No. We just need.
Okay, so I would like to move that the bill be reported, please. The guy in the black hat at the end, I saw him agitating. I just do not want him to start working again. So with that, I would like for someone to turn off his microphone, and I would like to move the bill be reported, and I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 1370 as amended be reported. Please record your vote.
Ayes 16, no 0.
Ayes 16, no 0. And you're on the uncontested block. Okay, is there any further business? This is it. We are done. The committee will rise.